What is up YouTube, Scarido here, and welcome to another reaction video. So today we are doing the Vengeful Wooden Puppet Horror Stories Animated. This is by NO Studios, and we're going to get straight into it. Okay, so interesting beginning. Okay, blood, right. Well, this is a hell of an intro. Now that is a creepy doll. Oh, it was just the intro, okay. I was about to say, that was like a lot of things happening just straight away.
This scary story is about a group of young people having a class reunion party at a luxurious villa which was located far away from the city.
Okay,
that day, Jindo was accompanied to the party by Ron. This was the first time they saw each other since graduation. Everyone was curious about who had reserved this luxurious resort. Being able to throw a party like this one, that person must be really wealthy. As the two arrived at the place, they saw Kathy waiting for them outside. Back in the days, Kathy was the most beautiful girl in the class. She was currently leading a model career and had made a name for herself.
You might want to keep your eyes elsewhere, mate.
As the three got inside, they encountered Khan, who was also waiting for them. Seeing his old friends, Khan spoke in a sarcastic manner. "Hello, losers! Still leading a poor life, huh? Why didn't you inform me about your arrival earlier so I could send one of my chauffeurs to pick you guys up?"
Yeah, people like that are not people you want to associate with.
Feeling unbearable to hold in his emotion, he clapped back at Khan. He grabbed Khan by the collar, threatened to beat him up. But Jindo had stopped them from getting into a fight. Thanks to him, the class reunion after 3 years wouldn't become a disaster. Kathy expressed her amazement as Khan and Ron coincidentally picked the same room. This could be an opportunity for the two to put aside their hatred and get along with each other. Although Ron still bared animosity towards Khan, he gave in as he didn't want to ruin the upcoming party. He walked up to Kathy and took the key room from her in an aggressive manner.
Probably not the best thing to do
Before
there.
the party finally began by noon, everyone had an hour to rearrange their stuff in their room. At 10:30 noon, everyone had gathered at the main hall. Jindo took a few steps down the stairs. As he was about to begin the party, he heard the crowd talking loudly. It turned out that everyone was asking about Khan since they didn't see him anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
The same to Ron as he still hadn't come to the party. Kathy had tried to reach out to them, but none of them picked up the phone. Since the party could only be started with enough guests, Kathy, Jindo and some other people went to Ron and Khan's room to check. They knocked the door multiple times, but no one answered. They even saw blood coming out of the door.
Ooh, okay.
Fearing something bad had happened to the two, Jindo broke down the door and went inside. As soon as they got in, they saw Ron facing his back at them. He was standing there looking out of the window.
With no eyes,
they called his name, but he didn't bother to reply. When the group turned their gaze on the floor, their faces became darkened as they looked terrified. There was a pool of blood on the floor.
Wow,
a terrifying scene appeared before their eyes. It was Khan.
Ooh.
The man had stopped breathing. His face was covered with deep cuts, eyes dilated with horror.
So he did keep his eyes.
Everyone froze by the horrifying scene. They trembled with fear. Only Jindo was still calm enough to ask Ron a question. Did you kill Khan?" Ron reacted instantly to Jindo's question. He panicked and howled loudly, saying he wasn't the one that killed Khan. He kept saying that he had seen a puppet at the window.
Okay.
It was the puppet that strangled Khan to death, then escaped through the window. Ron claimed his innocence by climbing out of the window searching for the puppet. He jumped out of the window, then made his way to a nearby forest to everyone's surprise. Luckily, the room was at the second story of the house, so Ron wouldn't suffer from any injuries by jumping. Later, Jindo, Kathy and some of their friends had to delay the party as they had to go to the forest looking for Ron. The atmosphere now in the forest was gloomy and eerie. Every breath of cold wind sent chills down their spines.
Okay,
as they made it halfway through the forest, they finally found Ron kneeling next to an old tree. Beside him was a woman wearing a white bloody dress that looked extremely scary. Ron gazed at the puppet while muttering something under his breath. "Who are you? Why did you kill Khan?" Is it you, Lil? Yes, it's you. It is you. You want to seek revenge, don't you? Everyone felt strange about his actions. Why was he muttering like that? And why was the doll here?
Yeah, that's a bit
Ron
suspicious.
appeared to be truly terrified as he recalled something. To him, this was definitely an act of vengeance, and soon all of them would be killed. You must be wondering who Lil was. She had died 3 years before, and her death had a lot to do with some male students in her class.
Okay.
The disturbing memories of high school was brought back as Ron felt an awful pain in his head. He grabbed it and then fell onto the ground. Jindo suddenly spoke up. It's clear that Ron has killed Khan. We need to take him to the police. Even though everyone found Ron acting strange, they did what Jindo told them to do anyway.
Okay, this is getting interesting.
As they were capturing Ron, one of them pulled out their phone to report the incident to the police. But since there was no signal, no one from the group could make a phone call. As a murder had taken place and Ron was their prime suspect, the group had no other choice but to cancel the whole party. But first, they needed to get out of this forest. As soon as they returned to the villa, they encountered a bizarre incident. Even when they had left the forest, there was still no signal. Moreover, all of the cars had been smashed and none of them was working.
Well, that's
Everyone was totally bewildered about the situation, but Jindo still remained calm. He told everyone to get back inside the villa and lock the doors tightly.
I think there's something going on with this Jindo guy.
He could be locked alone in a room for the sake of everyone's safety. They all felt warily after getting back from the forest. The murderer was still a mystery since Ron had been with them all the time in the forest, so the true killer might have been hiding somewhere else. Kathy told everyone to get inside and find something to eat, then find a way later. As they were having their meals downstairs, Kathy brought some food to Ron. However, Ron didn't open the door despite Kathy calling him multiple times. Sensing something bad had happened, Kathy opened the door and walked inside. The door wasn't locked. No sooner had she walked into the room than her face instantly changed color. Ron had died the same way Khan did. His eyes wide open, face covered with deep cuts. Kathy was horrified. She collapsed on the ground and screamed loudly. The people downstairs quickly rushed to check. The strange thing was, Kathy's description of the situation just sounded like that of Ron when they asked him about Khan's death.
Okay.
She pointed at the room window, saying there was a puppet and Ron was killed at its hands, but it seemed like Kathy was the only one seeing that spooky puppet. Which panicked her, of course. She tightly grabbed Jindo by the shoulder and said she wasn't the one that killed Ron. But who could believe such an absurd story? How could a puppet take down a human being?
Surprisingly easy,
Everyone felt suspicious about her. As they were still in shock, Jindo suddenly held loudly, saying Kathy was the one that killed Ron, and assumed she had ordered Ron to kill Khan previously as the two were accomplices.
Okay, I'm already convinced that Jindo has something to do with it.
Everyone believed Kathy was the murderer. Everyone gradually believed him. From what was shown at the crime scene, Kathy was the prime suspect, not to mention that she was the one away while they were having meals downstairs. Kathy was helpless to defend herself. The world seemingly collapsed before her eyes.
Okay.
Right that moment, someone in the group suddenly screamed as they turned around. Ron's body was being moved to the door, which came as a great shock to the witnesses.
Wow, okay.
Feeling like her actions had been exonerated, Kathy looked at everyone and asked if they were still suspecting her. Then she rushed to the door and grabbed the spooky puppet. Kathy said the puppet had been at the forest, but now it was here at the room, which was extremely odd. Therefore, the puppet was the real killer. The group started believing her, except Jindo. He still insisted that Kathy was lying to cover up her crimes. But the rest of the group were no longer bothered about him. One of them pointed at the puppet and said, "It's Lil, it's definitely her." Kathy was dumbfounded as she tried to bring back old memories. Her face quickly changed color as she remembered something. In the past, It was Kathy that spread false rumors about Lowell, which caused her to commit suicide. All of a sudden the lights in the room were off. It looked like someone had deliberately turned them off. The group started searching for flashlights in a tumult of confusion. How terrifying! Under the dim light, the puppet started jumping around, and there was Kathy laying on the ground next to its legs. She had stopped breathing and her face was covered with deep cuts. Everyone instantly panicked. They ran out of the room. One of them quickly closed the door. A party that was supposed to be a class reunion now turned into a massacre.
Well, this is a very interesting story.
They had no idea what was going on, but they had to run to ensure their safety. As the group had made it out of the house, they found out that Jindo had mysteriously disappeared. They were sure that he was running in front of them, but now he was nowhere to be seen. A man fearfully said perhaps Jindo was being kept by the puppet, and he was still inside the villa.
Pretty sure he's involved with the puppet.
Another man pointed at someone that appeared to be Jindo. Jindo was standing there only a few steps away from the main door, yet he didn't move. The freaky puppet appeared behind Jindo. Everyone was scared and extremely worried about Jindo. But Jindo showed no fear. He smirked and let out an evil smile. Then he bursted out laughing. "Have you guys already forgotten this woman?" he said. "How could you forget Lil after causing her death?"
Okay, yep, he was involved with the puppet.
Lil was their classmate back in high school, who was also the one that Jindo secretly loved.
Oh, it's one of them stories,
The girl with the petite appearance had to suffer such cruel fate. That day the class decided to throw a party as they had finished their midterm exam. Lil was raped by some of her male classmates. Jindo was also there at the party, but he was too drunk to get there and save her in time. Later rumors about the incident were spreading. Lil was humiliated by Jindo's still love for her, as he even confessed his love to the girl.
Wow, that's
But things got worse
good.
for Lil, as she couldn't stand the humiliation and the way people gossiped about her every time she went to school. Therefore, Lil chose death to end her days of suffering. She took her own life by hanging herself in front of the school gate.
There's better ways.
Jindo was in immense pain when he found out about her death. Unexpectedly, he had an encounter with a mysterious man who had an X logo on his chest.
Yeah, because that's not dodgy at all.
The man gave him a jar of paint which could bring someone's soul to life.
Oh, yeah, that's absolute bollocks, but there we go.
From the trunk where Lil had committed suicide, then applied the paint onto it so Lil's soul could be absorbed into the object. The party was part of his plan to take revenge on those who had harmed Lil. Unexpectedly, Jindo had been living with a puppet for a while, and no one could ever expect that he would pull out such vengeful acts towards his old friends.
I mean, that is kind of messed up.
Jindo hugged the puppet in his arms and shouted, "Those who harmed you are all here. Let's kill all of them." As Jindo finished his sentence, the puppet flew in midair and made a dash to the crowd. Before they could run for their lives, the strings from the wooden puppet instantly caught them, then squeezed them all to death.
Wow, okay.
As Jindo finally satisfied his desire for revenge, he wanted to complete his last wish. Jindo looked at the wooden puppet. He asked Jill to forgive him and let him be by her side, as he wanted to make it up to her and take care of her. Now before his eyes wasn't a demonic puppet smeared with blood. Instead, it was a pretty girl with sparkling eyes. Because of his true love for Jill, Jindo vowed to be turned into a wooden puppet with his soul trapped inside, just like Lil. Only that way could he stay with her forever.
I mean, it's both a sad and a scary story at the same time, but you know, it's... As someone who's had suicidal thoughts before, it's not the right thing to do. It's not the right way. Anyway, I will see you in the next one.